welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I was digging through some boxes the other day, and I found an old video. And you know what? I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I've done a lot of shows over the years, but very few of them were put on camera. Back in the 80s, you know, it wasn't that common to have a digital camera. Of course, it wasn't even possible. And up through the 90s, those were my heavy performance years. You know, I just didn't, either I didn't have the camera, or I was performing alone and didn't really want to take the time to set it up. But for whatever reason, I just didn't record a lot of shows. So when I find a show that I didn't realize I had, it's golden. So I'm going to share a couple of clips from an old show for you, and I hope that you enjoy it. And one of the things that you're going to see is what's called the spot card. Now I have two examples of them right here. This one right here is called Dicey Dimensions. And it's available, I believe, through most magic dealers. I think you can get this one. You can get this one through Abbott's Magic. Blaze asked me to do some pro and cons of different types. And you know, I can do that a little bit. I don't, if I get into the gritty detail, then I'm kind of revealing the methodology, and I don't really want to do that. I will try to give you some tips and pointers, though, as I talk about various tricks from now on, because I know that's important to Blaze, and it's probably important to some other people, too. This isn't really a review, per se, although you can take it that way. I want to present the trick. Let me just stop and do that now. I'm going to go ahead and insert that footage here so you can take a look at what this trick looks like. Then when we come back, I can talk about the pros and cons of the trick, where it came from, all that good stuff. So take a look, enjoy. I'll see you in a moment.
I'm David Dellman, and I'm a magician. I brought a few items to show you, like this piece of cardboard, for example. Now this piece of cardboard has a bright orange spot in the center. Now that's not what's strange about this piece of cardboard. What's weird is that it has 2 spots on this side, it has 3 spots on this side, and it has 4 spots on this side. That's what's strange. Now I know you've never seen anything like this before, so I'm going to show it to you one more time. You see, on this side it's got 1 spot, on this side it's got 2 spots, on this side it's got 3 spots, and on this side it has 4 spots. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, David, what kind of fools do you take this for? It's very obvious that when you're showing us 1 spot, you're keeping your hand over this spot down here to create the illusion that there's 1 spot when there's actually 2. And when you're showing us 2 spots, it's obvious that you're keeping your hand over this spot down here to create the illusion that there are 2 spots when there are actually 3. Well, when I show you 3 spots, of course, I have to be very careful not to move my hand away from this spot right here. Otherwise, I might reveal how the illusion is done. And when I'm showing you 4 spots, of course, I have to be very careful not to move my hand away from this spot over here. Otherwise, I might reveal how the illusion is done. Now, sometimes when I'm showing this, people start to shout the secret before I'm ready to reveal it. Well, when that happens, I just show them the 5th side. Now, if that's not enough to convince people, well, then I show them the 6th side. Now, if you think you're seeing spots before your eyes, maybe you should see an eye doctor.
Welcome back. So I hope you enjoyed that. So I call it the spot card, but it has gone by many names. I tried to find the history of this thing, and sometimes tracing a history is very easy to do because there's been a lot of interest in the effect. There's been a lot of writing on the effect, so it's easy to find a history. Sometimes it's not so easy. In this particular case, it's not so easy. The spot card seems to have originated, maybe it did and maybe it didn't. In the 1950s, it was first, as far as I know, it was first manufactured on a mass scale by Tannen's Magic. And it was called Pop-Eyed Pips in the 1950s. Now, possibly Ken Brooke invented an earlier version. Possibly Ken Brooke's version, I believe, is still available through Stevens Magic, and it's called Krazy Card. And then you have, and when I was a teenager doing magic, I purchased the Tenyo model. Tenyo actually manufactured theirs in 1975, so it would have been around the right era for me, 1975, 76, 77, that period of time. It was called What's Next, and I believe it's still available, What's Next. What's next was a metal card with sort of velvet, if you will, velvet black pips on it. The version that you saw in the video is this right here. It is Lee Earle's Dynamite. And I have used several versions of this particular effect, what I call the spot card. Lee Earle's version, in my opinion, is the best, and I'll tell you why. It's large. It's a white laminated card, as you saw. The pips on it are bright orange. They're fluorescent orange. You can't miss this thing, right? No matter where you are in a large theater, you can play this thing in a living room. You can play it in a theater. By the way, I saw David Copperfield at the Mechanic Theater downtown in Baltimore do the Tenyo version What's Next on stage. He was kind of filling in some time while they switched some stuff around backstage for the next Illusion. But he did it on stage down at the Mechanic. I was impressed that he did it. Again, the Tenyo version is white rather, with black pips. And it also shows up very well. So visibly, this is great. But there's a reason why I prefer the Lee Earle version. And that is that you don't necessarily have to look at what you're doing to make sure that everything lines up properly. It kind of runs on a track, and it ends up in the right place at the right time, which is brilliant. I mean, Lee Earle, I don't know if he invented the method, but it is by far the best version on the market. I don't know that Lee Earle's version is actually on the market still, but if you can get one, as you saw in the video, I think it's the very best. That's Lee Earle's Dynamite. Again, this one is called Dicey Dimensions. It works on a very similar method. And I like the fact that it's smaller, and I like the fact that it's black against white. This particular version, when you're finished, rather than opening it up and showing an eye chart with Dynamite, when this one concludes, you throw it up into the air, and when it comes down, it's an actual die. And I think that's pretty cool too. So you can check that out. Over the years, there have been some other types made. There was Dubious Dominos by Fun Inc. Dinamo Deluxe Spot Card by Norm Nielsen. Confusing Die by John Fabjance. And Krazy Card, of course, they mentioned, by Ken Brooke. And then there's a newer version that I think is being manufactured, or at least sold and distributed, by Vanishing Magic, called Krazy Dots. So you can get one of these at Vanishing Magic. You can get one at Stevens Magic. You can pick them up from your favorite magic dealer. I think it's a great trick. Let me just tell you a little story about this, though. Back in the, I guess it was the late 90s, early 2000s, I was doing an act that included the Lee Earle Spot Card Dynamite, and I was doing what's called the Sidewalk Shuffle. In the Sidewalk Shuffle, you've got basically sometimes blank. Now, the particular version I was using was blank cards and an ace. And so you had 4 cards is what I used. I had 3 in the hand, 1 on the table. And it always turned out that the wrong card, the one that you didn't think was on the table, was, and so on and so on, until the end, when all the cards turn out to be aces. So, in my mind, these are distinctly different tricks, you know. But I was doing this one particular show, and I knew the booking agent extremely well, and she happened to come to the show to see the show. A lot of booking agents will do that. They will book you, and sometimes they'll appear and sometimes they won't. For this particular show, this booking agent came to the show, and she came back after the show, and she said, "What a lovely show! I really appreciate it. Did a great job." And I've been in the habit of doing this for many years. I still do it. I asked her, what was your favorite effect? What was your least favorite effect? What are your thoughts? I really drilled down, because there's no more valuable input to me than a booking agent's input, or even a layperson. I just love to get their point of view. And here's something that really took me aback, if you will. She said, why did you do the same trick twice? And I said, I'm not sure what you mean. She said, well, you did this trick where the spots kept appearing on the card, and then you did this trick with 4 cards where the spots kept changing on the cards. And I was thinking, well, one of them's the spot card and one of them's the sidewalk shuffle, 2 different tricks. In her mind, the trick was, or the magical effect was, that spots were appearing on the cards. It didn't matter that one was a sidewalk shuffle and one was a spot card. In her mind, it was the same trick. Anyway, from that moment forward, I never did the spot card and the sidewalk shuffle in the same show. Simply because audiences tend to think it's the same trick. So, there you go. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment down below. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe. I'd love to see you back here. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day. Take care.